25, it took me 25 hours to find these animals. I don't think there will be a second part, because I've already found the most special ones. Do you know what animal this little one will grow into? And this one, how about this one? All these animals, when they're young, look very different from their future selves. Some change so much that you'd never guess. They look like this when they were small. But first, coffee. I remind you unobtrusively drop likes. And a reminder for you to remind me to unobtrusively remind you to like the video, because sometimes I forget to unobtrusively remind you. If you forget to like it after watching, that's it, and let's start with this. This creature, which looks like the embryo of almost any animal, is a newborn echidna. Echids are fascinating creatures because although they're mammals, they lay eggs and are related to platypuses. There are 4 species in this family. They slightly differ from each other, and all of them have rather unusual offspring. It's the offspring we're really interested in. 22 days after mating, the female lays a single, leathery egg with a soft shell and places it directly into its pouch. An egg weighs around 0.05 to 0.07 ounces and has a length of 0.5 inches long and short. Its pretty small incubation goes by pretty quickly. In just 10 days, a hatchling emerges, and it's completely unadapted to independent living. Tiny embryo like baby has a lot to do. Its eyes aren't developed and it's unpigmented. Hairless skin is almost see-through. For the first 4 days, its lungs can't breathe, so the baby echidna breathes through its skin. For the next couple of months, the baby keeps growing comfortably nestled in the mother's pouch, safe and warm. But unlike other mammals, monotremes like echidnas don't have nipples, so the baby licks or sucks milk from its mother's fur. Around to milk patches, this is how 45 to 55 days pass, at which time the baby begins to develop spines. Then it spends another 7 months outside the pouch, but still feeds on milk. The little echidna leaves its mother about a year after being born. At this age, young echidnas look like regular adult ones, not like embryos that happen to get outside before their time. However, this is actually a common thing for all marsupials. We could dedicate to them a whole video or even a couple. That's how different newborn marsupials are from adults. But I thought it's best not to stretch it out, so let's cover everything in one go. Alright, marsupials don't have a placenta, and their babies, when they come into the world, are so immature, they're almost fetal. Take a red kangaroo, which is born 100 times smaller than its mother. Right after birth, baby animals are so tiny and fragile that they can't survive on their own at all. Even just to get to the milk source, they need a whole lot of time. And it seems weird, why are some animals ready to run, hunt, and basically live an adult life right after birth, while others are like this? It all depends on how independent animals are born. When your mom has a pouch where you can chill and grow feeding on milk, you can afford to be born the size of a gummy bear. This thing that looks like a satellite from the 1960s is actually a future sea urchin. We're used to seeing this creature in tidal zones or on coral reefs as a spiky ball wandering around and munching on seaweed. But before the sea urchin becomes the familiar creature we know, it goes through a very weird teenage phase. When larvae hatch from their eggs, they really look like a spaceship and travel through the ocean like it's outer space. Inside the spaceship, a young sea urchin's body grows smaller version of the adult. Most species have shells with 12 elongated covered arms in rows of cilia that capture food particles and move them to the mouth. Then, as the larvae approach the shore and feel the turbulence of breaking waves, they know it's time to break free. The sea urchin sticks out its tiny feet and grabs onto rocks through the ocean floor. Usually happens after about 45 days, and then the baby grows, turning into a miniature version of an adult sea urchin in about a week. Then it can start looking for food. But that's not actually the only way they come into existence, because there are over 800 species of sea urchins, 2 of them which live in the icy waters of Antarctica. Their offspring from harsh conditions for several months before they're born. The young individuals develop in womb-like pouches inside the mother until they're about 1/10 of an inch and long, fully equipped with spines. And other sea urchins just release millions of gametes into the water. Then they'll figure it out themselves. Some urchins are so committed to motherhood that they can even toughen up their babies. Female purple sea urchins, when facing stressful conditions like low pH levels, make their offspring more resilient or even bigger. So to speak, they pack a genetic backpack for them with useful tools. These are king penguins, and if you spend enough time online, you've probably seen memes about their chicks. Because baby king penguins look like they're wearing their moms made them put on. Yeah, chicks look really different from adult individuals. But compared to sea urchins, they have at least the same penguin shape. However, when researchers first arrived in the sub-Antarctic region, they thought king penguin chicks were a completely different species. They named them woolly penguins, which makes perfect sense. Baby king penguins are covered in a thick layer of dark brown feathers. Actually, when they're born, this layer is very thin, and the chicks completely depend on their parents for food and warmth. For the next 30 to 40 days, they go through a guard phase. The chick spends its time balanced on its parents' feet, sheltered in a brood pouch made from abdominal skin. The parents take turns with one guarding the chick, while the other forages for food. Then the guard phase ends, and the chick's down becomes thick enough for the penguin to stay warm. This fluff is so insulating that the chicks have to be careful not to get too warm. In the summer months, and then around 10 or 12 months, the molting occurs, during which the penguin chicks look even funnier than before. But they're ready to learn swimming, which means they become adults. Like any other animal, the life of the Chinese giant salamander begins when its parents enter the breeding season. From July to September, when this happens, the male guards the underwater nest, where the female comes to lay around 500 eggs for fertilization. The female's job is basically done at this point, and the young father takes over. He protects the future offspring until the eggs hatch in 50 to 60 days. By the way, multiple females can lay eggs at the same time, so the male has a lot of work. Laid eggs have a diameter of about 1/4 but double in size by absorbing water when they hatch. The larvae are around an inch long, but the size isn't the main thing here. The most important thing is their external gill. You know what axolotls look like? Those cute pink creatures. These things sticking out from the sides of their heads are external gills actually. Chinese giant salamanders keep growing throughout their entire lives, going through 3 stages, e.g. larva and adult. So a month after hatching, the tadpoles already fully develop their front and hind limbs, gradually toes start appearing. Then their lungs start working, and in 8 months their gills begin to degenerate. A process called metamorphosis occurs. 1 or 2 years after the gill degeneration starts, the gills disappear completely, and Chinese giant salamanders rely only on their lungs. The metamorphosis ends when salamanders reach around 2 or 3 years old. They reach maturity and become adults at about 5 or 6 years old. When they measure around 16 to 20 inches in length, they started out at just over an inch well. And then they just keep on growing, not stopping but hardly changing on the outside. And then I thought, is there any scientific reason why babies are so different from their parents? I mean, if nature made it like this, there must be some purpose behind it. So scientists could at least try to find it. So we did some searching too. A simple example is primates, particularly the red langur, whose fur has a rich reddish color. But this is in adulthood because the babies are born snowy white. The young one's fur starts changing to a reddish-orange hue, starting from the tail and gradually spreading to the back and across the body. There are several theories why the fur color of infants differs so much. For example, it's been suggested that it protects the babies from predators, keeps them from being separated from their mothers, and even sends a signal to the rest of the pack that they should start thinking about babysitting duties. It's like saying, take care of me while I'm white. The fur of baby primates from many different species looks different compared to adult fur, and recently primatologists came up with another theory. Unusual colors might protect young monkeys from infanticide. Among primates, young mothers take care of their babies in tight social groups. Typically, these groups consist of several females, offspring, and one male. Every 2 or 3 years, a newcomer male from another pack can house the local male and take over. New males always want to mate with females and bring along new genes, which isn't too bad from an evolutionary standpoint. But if they invade the pack, well, females are nursing babies from another male. The babies will be killed. It's simple and brutal. A nursing female can't get pregnant, so feeding must be stopped. As scientists analyzed data on juvenile and adult fur behavior in biology of 286 primate species and found a strong correlation between species with different juvenile fur and the frequency of infanticide. The hypothesis is that bright fur color serves as an indirect form of protection. Babies with unusual fur receive more care from their mothers. When babies get more love and they grow up faster, that means they're vulnerable for a shorter time. And since infanticide could happen anytime, it's better for babies to grow up as fast as possible. Well, that really does make sense. And if this trait stuck around, and not just in one species, but in many, then it definitely must give monkeys some kind of advantage. If a baby differs from its grown-up version, it's definitely the result of a mutation that happened sometime. It happened and turned out to be damn successful. So it stuck around, then eventually, after many years, became the norm for the entire species. But the most interesting thing is such mutations even appear today, right before our eyes in 2019. An unusual baby of the plains zebra was spotted in the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya. Unlike its typical striped relatives, this one was born with brown fur and polka dots. The bull looked like it belonged to a completely different species, but it's actually thanks to pseudomelanism. The color of skin and hair mammals is determined by a pigment protein called melanin, which is produced by specialized cells called melanocytes. There are many mutations that can disrupt the melanin process, and one of those mutations happened to this spotted zebra. And here's how evolution works. If a trait turns out to be more advantageous than stripes, it could catch on to then after thousands of years. All zebra foals will be born spotted. And then, I don't know, as the age stripes will start to appear on them. But to be honest, it's probably not gonna happen. Experts think that spotted zebras are more vulnerable to predators because they stand out from the group. And all predators always target those who look different. So most likely spotted zebras will just remain unique mutants. But let's get back to unusual baby animals, because we didn't mention pigeons. Pigeons are kind of a meme, because their chicks are pretty rare to come across. But it's a shame because they look peculiar. Young pigeons hatch blind and helpless, with pink or grayish skin, and a sparse covering of golden down feathers. Why golden? Just because that's the nature's answer. The chicks have broad, fleshy beaks, and their outer ear openings are clearly visible beneath their closed eyes. Yeah. That hole at the bottom, that's the ear. Honestly, I was happier not knowing that. Usually chicks hatch out about 2 inches long and weigh around 0.5 ounces. And their weight increases by 0.1 to 0.3 ounces per day. This way, they reach a weight of 9 to 12 ounces at the age of 1 month. As the chicks grow up, they start looking more and more like adults. Within the first week, their eyes open and their feathers begin to darken. By the 3rd week, they're easily recognizable, although they're still smaller and have less dense feathers than their parents. Plus, pigeons under 8 months old have a different eye color. It's grayish-brown in adult birds. The eyes come in shades of yellow, orange, or amber, and, actually, pigeons are good parents. They both participate in raising the chicks. Unlike most other birds, male and female pigeons produce a substance called pigeon milk, a cheesy secretion specifically used for feeding their offspring. Pigeon milk contains antioxidants and immune boosters. Basically, what's needed in the first 10 days of a chick's life. Young pigeons spend around 4 to 5 weeks in the nest. By the time they're ready to get their feathers, the chicks already resemble adult pigeons. And this explains why baby pigeons can rarely be seen in the wild or just on the streets of your city. By the time young pigeons leave the nest, they already look just like their parents. And someone here will probably say, what nest pigeons don't even know how to build them? They just throw a few twigs together and hurry to lay eggs there. What's sad is how these nests look, compared to those made by other bird species. But just because pigeon nests seem useless to us, doesn't mean they're useless for pigeons. Most people don't have the proper experience to tell it. The nest in front of them is good or bad, actually. A pigeon's nest has one purpose: to be placed where the egg won't roll away. Modern city pigeons descended from wild rock doves, which nest on rocky cliffs. While the uneven, swaying branches of a tree might require an intricately woven, cup-shaped nest on the rocks, a pile of sticks will be enough to keep an egg in place. What pigeons are trying to do in the city is just redoing their wild experience. Actually, their ancestors' experience, to be exact, and you know what? It works. Have you seen how many pigeons there are on the streets? And finally, here are these adorable little guys, which look like slightly oversized geckos. These are baby Komodo dragons. Once a year, when they're ready to mate, females give off the scent of their feces, which males can follow. After some brief courtship games involving licking, if everything goes well, they mate. Then pregnant females lay about 30 eggs, which they bury in the ground. And after 8 months, small Komodo dragons hatch from them. Actually, if there are no males around, female Komodo dragons have a backup plan. These reptiles possess both male and female sex chromosomes, so they can reproduce through parthenogenesis or asexual reproduction. And the offspring turn out just as good anyway. Everything starts with the eggs, which are buried deep in the ground to keep the temperature and humidity just right. The eggs need up to 9 months before the baby Komodo dragons are ready to hatch. What's unusual for lizards: the females spend a lot of time guarding their nest from potential predators, but still don't wait for the hatching. At the end of the rainy season, the babies break the shells of their eggs and come to the surface. And just hatched Komodo dragons, with a length of 16 inches and a weight of 3.5 ounces, extremely brightly colored, with yellow and orange stripes and spots. These markings probably serve as camouflage to hide from predators and help them hunt. And the babies spend almost all their time up in the treetops. Nobody can eat them there, but there's plenty of food. After about a year, they start coming down to the ground more often, change their diet, and gradually increase in size. Doing so very actively, their looks change too. And by the age of 8 to 10 years, a Komodo dragon is considered an adult. And they probably feel pretty embarrassed when they remember how weird they looked when they were younger. That's it, like I said. There probably won't be a second part, since I've already covered all the most interesting animals. So since you're here at the end of the video, you owe me a like. See you later.